Let's talk about Jaseline Singh. Let's talk about Jaseline Singh, of course. Akaash Singh's wife. Akaash Singh's wife, Jaseline Singh, has been all over the news. She's kind of dominating my social media feed, for better or worse. I don't actually know if a lady like this has the ability to realize that she is doing her husband a lot of damage. I've said it previously on another stream that I personally think there's a death. I don't know what's happened recently, but there seems to be a death of the, I won't say obedient, but I'd say of like the archetypal like gold digger, right? The death of it, because she's not acting like one. I always assume gold diggers would be like, you know, there's some, they kind of do what needs to get done in order so they can have the money they need to kind of do what they want to do, you know? So if it means kind of giving their, you know, their fucking man a fucking blowy or something, they'll do it. If it means giving their man an opportunity to grab some ass, they'll do it, or a little booby, they'll do it. But they always do what needs to be done to ensure that the bank card, the credit card is always available for them to use. But this Jaseline lady doesn't seem to be that kind of person. She seems to be doing, I guess, somewhat, I guess, feminist propaganda in a way. But then she's totally dependent on the man. That's a weird thing. I think it's kind of like she's doing feminist propaganda, or she's kind of espousing or trying to lead a somewhat feminist lifestyle while also being a stay-at-home mum. But she's not really a stay-at-home mum. She's a stay-at-home wife who doesn't do any of the quote-unquote wifely trad duties. But she kind of want to live like one. Yeah, she kind of wants to live like a trad wife without all the traditional values and duties that you would expect. But all in all, it's just embarrassing. You know, it's, forget all of that, what I've said, all that blub, all that fucking preamble. It's just an embarrassing situation where she's making herself look dumb, she's making him look dumb, and does her in the brand, which is gonna affect her ability to spend money on Miu Miu. And you'd think for somebody as narcissistic and I guess selfish as her, she would realize that and be like, you know what, let me just take my foot off the pedal a little bit. Let me stop mentioning my man. Let me not stop mentioning how many times I put my pussy out there, and let me just chill. But she doesn't want to. Or this could just be simply the fact of, I've always said that I feel as if Rogan's done irreversible damage to the stand-up community or stand-up scene in general industry, because he's highlighted just how rubbish everybody is, right? And I think I saw a thread somewhere that said, where did I see it? I don't know where it was. I saw a thread somewhere where somebody said something like, which are along the same lines, like, oh, why is it that all of these DJ bookers end up trying to be DJs themselves? And my first thinking was like, that's similar to like the comedy thing, because I think what happens with the DJ bookers is that when you get close to a prominent DJ and you're like, again, you're their booker or their manager, and you just see how much money they make for how little work they do, right? I don't care if you dig for 70 hours, but you know, at the end of the day, DJs perform for an hour, sometimes 4 max, right? Most of the top ones, they're usually playing other people's tunes and they get paid thousands and thousands of dollars. So if you're a booker, I can understand how you can be like, you know what, I can do that too, because you've seen how the sausage is made. No, Brendan Schaub, you've seen it up close and personal, and you can tell it's not that hard. It's not that difficult. So I don't blame you for trying to give it a shot. That's what I think happened to comedy. I think Rogan doing comedy and all these guys, it made people think, hold on, if Rogan's out here and he's like the one of the most famous stand-up comedians out there, doesn't mean he's good, but he's one of the most famous ones, and he's making all this money, why don't I try it, you know? So I wonder if this Jaseline thing is the same sort of situation where she's married Akaash, she's seen how easy it is to do, or how, you know, mediocre most comedians are, but they make a lot of money. Or just in terms of the podcast as well, right? How mediocre the podcast is, they do flagrant, but how much money it makes. And she's like, you know what? I want a bit of that. So let me use this time while I'm with this guy to kind of start yapping so people can start paying attention to me. It could just be all of that. It could just be she just wants the attention. Because maybe we're all overanalyzing this and it's not a thing of like she's trying to disrespect her husband. It could just be she just wants a bit of that attention. She just wants a bit of that moolah herself. And this is where we're at. Well, all of that to say, another big X/Twitter account decided to post another clip of Jaseline. In this one particular, it says that this is a new video that was deleted allegedly, giving advice to college girls to date around and not settle for the first guy they see. I don't know. Is it really? I wouldn't say is it advisable, but is this even a topic that you should be talking about? I guess that's what I'd say. Maybe it's a topic you talk about when you're single. But I think when you're married, you should talk about married topics, isn't it? Because there's a lot you should talk about there, because you're living it, you're breathing it right now. You're living, breathing that experience. You shouldn't really be talking about, dating experience when you're single, because you're not. And it's also gonna open a weird Pandora's box. But let's play this clip anyway, and let's hear what she has to say.
So do me a favor, to all my brown girls who are starting college, you actually don't have to date the first guy that gives you attention. And believe me, I know I'm speaking from experience because I was super sheltered in high school, didn't really date, was a late bloomer. So when I got to high school, I was like, when I got to college, I was like, oh my God, it's like open season, and like all these guys are like starting to give me attention.
Jesus
and like everyone's
Christ,
being so social. And literally, like the first guy I met on the first day I moved in, I ended up dating him on and off for a year. Why? You don't have to settle for someone's crusty, dusty son. Like, settle in, get your friend group going, see like where you kind of vibe, and then maybe like wait for the third guy or like the fifth guy that gives you attention, and then like maybe you can like go for that. Because I think like, especially brown girls who grow up really sheltered, it's just like so fun to be in this new environment, to be without your parents, to be like living in dorms and like co-ed situations. And I get the excitement, but don't settle. Like, learn more about yourself before you kind of just like lock yourself down in a situation with a relationship that like probably like won't last that long anyways, because it's usually just like puppy love and all that stuff. But I'm saying that with the best of intentions. It's gonna be like so much fun. I feel like I had so many fun memories in college, so yeah.
Not so bad, to be fair. I think people maybe were overblowing it a little bit on social. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It's the first time I've actually heard this clip, so yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess now we're at a point now of hate for Jaseline Singh online, where just any clip of her speaking, people are gonna throw a wobbler about, because she's just speaking. Which is kind of fucked up, but she's kind of done it to herself. She kind of can't blame anybody else but herself. But I don't actually think this clip is that bad, really. It's kind of sound advice to give to quote unquote brown girls. Obviously her being from there would, she has a lot of experience of kind of growing up sheltered, somewhat religious, so she probably has a lot to say to them. I don't know about, it's funny because she says don't settle for the first person that you see, or first person that kind of gives you love, but you kind of get the feeling that's what happened to Akaash, though, innit? Right? I feel like she got she got some of her, I guess, sexual whatever out of the way. She got some of her, she had some of a city girl life, it seems like, in college. I don't think Akaash did. That's the interesting part, which kind of maybe speaks to how they are acting in a relationship. She's a little bit more, she gives him the ick, and she's kind of playing around and teasing him and mocking him and mugging him off online, whereas he's like super duper in love, clearly, and is making excuses for her because maybe this is legitimately the first girl he's ever had, because a lot of guys can usually smell that from a mile off. I don't know if I believe that though with Akaash. I don't know if this is only the first girlfriend he's ever had, or if this is the first girl that he thinks is good looking he's ever had. It's a different. I think it's a different thing. Maybe they're both the same sort of reaction maybe, but I think they're two different things. Situations to be in. Like, your first ever girlfriend, you're gonna be, acting one way, but when you have your first ever quote unquote baddie, that might be a little bit different, especially when, he probably had I think in the beginning they said they were together when they weren't that successful. When he wasn't that successful, they broke up for a bit, then they got back together again, which, you have to give her credit for spotting some potential in him and coming back, spinning the block. But either way, I think we got to a point now with her, it's just everyone just wants her to shut the fuck up, but she also refuses to shut the fuck up because she's a yapper like me at heart. So it's going to be interesting to see in this game of chicken of shut the fuck up, right, who's going to go first, who's going to bulk first. It'll be interesting to see who ends up bulking first. Another clip from the same account. So Jaseline Singh admits to her husband that she wouldn't have married him if he made her sign a prenup because it's offensive. Whew.
Is it just me, or is the idea of asking a girl to sign a prenup incredibly offensive? And only one way. Like, if I asked someone to sign a prenup because I had some like booming business, then I would be like, yeah, can you just sign this prenup because like I don't want to like lose all my money. But then like if a guy asked me to sign a prenup, I would be like, I would call off the wedding. Like, I would literally call off the wedding.
You would have called off the wedding if I asked you to sign a prenup?
Yeah, like, I'm not even joking.
I had no real ability to, since you were with me when I was broke.
But
I
it's
couldn't
just like I
justifiably ask
think
for
I
one.
think it's because guys don't like, in general, like they don't hold the same like values that women do in terms of like loyalty.
What?
In general, like I'm not saying like, you know what I mean,
Okay.
like I feel like guys in general just like aren't as loyal, and like guys cheat more.
You're a sexist. That's the thing.
I'm a
about
feminist.
You. That's what we code it as. But you're a sexist. It's
Whatever.
giving sexist.
Because we were watching Ranj, aka Real Housewives of New Jersey, like reruns, and like Teresa was saying that Joe had asked her to sign a prenup, and I just feel like that's like the biggest red flag. I mean, not to judge like anyone's marriage, like if your husband had you sign a prenup and you guys are happy, like, I mean, that kind of like proves me wrong, but I just feel like it kind of just to me shows like, I don't know, like it's like kind of like you're not like you're already not being generous in like as a man, you're already not being generous, and I feel like men
Jesus
should be generous.
And what should women
Of
do?
course you think that.
Be spoiled.
Okay. Where should they be generous?
With money.
No. Where should women be generous?
Oh, like with tender love and care.
I don't think.
Well, I'm not saying I do
Okay,
it all.
there you go. There you go.
I do.
More than me?
Oh, no, more than you.
Well, there you go. We saw that. We saw that. Don't think we didn't see that.
Does anybody else like? Doesn't it not make anybody else feel like whenever someone speaks like this, it makes them look incredibly unattractive in all its facets? No bread and shop. Surely, when a person speaks like this, but then I guess it depends, isn't it? If you want a type of relationship where it's kind of there is that sort of weird monetary exchange thing, I don't know what's going on. Maybe that's okay, but for me, I just feel like it's just, forget a red flag. It just, no matter what you look like honestly, no matter what you look like, it's kind of hard not to get that out of your head, you know? It's almost like if on a first date, you know, you're dating somebody and they just told you about a train that got ran on them in passing, like, you know, you're just joking around. Or no, you're just having a conversation about maybe your past sexual experiences, and they're like, yeah, and I had a train ran on me. Oh my God, it was so crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't do Lily Phillips or Bonnie Blue numbers, but I got up there. Just imagine someone said that to you in passing and you really like them. It would be pretty hard for you to shake that out of your head, you know? You can't ever not see just a queue of guys whenever you see her, you know? You just picture her just getting like, you know, Eiffel Towered and shit and more. You know, you just cannot get out of your head. So yes, maybe you'll be able to get with them, but it's just something you just can never shake. It'll be a nagging little feeling in the back of your head every time you look at them. And I think the same thing goes with this sort of conversation. Be like, I know it's kind of, because, you know, don't get me wrong, they are clearly joking. I don't think she's being entirely serious, but it would make me feel away. It would legitimately make me feel away. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. We're just starting, man. Like, you know, we're just starting this marriage journey, and you're like already like this. It's just an interesting way to be. I just wonder with someone like this though, right? Where clearly it seems like all she wants is like a human ATM. Why not just work for yourself then and get money? Especially nowadays, like girls can find so many ways, especially if you think you're quote unquote attractive. There's so many ways online where you can make a lot of like money. Maybe doing ungodly things. Maybe you would have some little bit of shame. Maybe she might get disowned by her family, which is why she ain't doing it. But I would think if she has so many problems with men in general, with prenups, all this stuff, right? Just, I don't know, be single and do your own thing, innit? Have your own empire, spend whatever you want on yourself, do that fucking Pokemon, that live streamer, and buy yourself an engagement ring, do all that sort of nonsense stuff, and you'll be fine. You don't need anybody, really. Clearly, you already demonstrated it. I don't really understand why she's doing this, really, you know? It kind of feels like she kind of gets a bit of a kick out of the mocking the guy on social media, and he also maybe gets a kick out of like people seeing, look, she's funny, she's a bit crazy. Yeah, I guess, bro. Yeah, I guess it just never stops with them, innit?